Fountain of Youth is our target this week on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We're focusing back down at Gulfstream Park in Florida. We've got a good renewal of the Fountain of Youth as well. Hopefully, we'll find a Kentucky Derby contender at the very least. Myself, Luke Elder, alongside Tom Collins, who is back in the country next week, but not this week.
Yes, correct. Yeah, last week here. Looking forward to being back, actually. And obviously, we've got the Cheltenham Festival and the whole of the US summer to come. So it's a really good time of year for horse racing in general. And yeah, it'd be nice to be in the UK to watch it all.
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room first, and then we'll get on to promoting all our stuff. Publisher.
Do we need to talk about this?
Look. Everyone went through it with us. This is like therapy. It's not just a podcast. We're all here to heal each other. It was not Flavien Prat's finest moment. Whether he should have won, don't know. But he should have definitely been in the 3. And when we're all on at 16-1, that'll be a help.
Yeah, I definitely think he should have been placed. I would say winning was a bit of a stretch. Sandman probably had a similar kind of trip, albeit a better trip slightly. And he was ahead of Publisher. So maybe Sandman was the best horse in the race. I want to take nothing away from the eventual winner, Cole Battle, who did it very well for a trainer who hasn't had many horses on the Derby Trail in the past. But I do think Publisher should have been 3rd at worst. He should have passed Madaket Road. Flavien Prat gave him maybe a 4 out of 10 ride. I didn't mind the early part of the race. I didn't mind the middle part. But he was the last horse off the bridle. Then he tried to squeeze through the smallest possible gap. Yeah. It just wasn't amazing from Flavien, I have to admit. The horse ran great to finish 4th, and he was good value, as we kind of said in the podcast, but just an unfortunate result.
Yeah, shout out to Juan Vargas as well, who was obviously on board Cole Battle. Gave Cole Battle a great ride, was one of the only riders to really get after Irad on board Madaket Road. That made the difference effectively, but a good ride on board Cole Battle. It'll be interesting to see them all fight off once again. But we are the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Welcome if you are returning. I assume if you are, you've already subscribed. If you aren't subscribed, you can click that button down below, leave a like, comment, and everything else. Last week, I did do a little bit of a lie. And it might have been weird at the back end of last week because Tom lost some sort of internet. So the conversation wasn't flowing. But we're going to do NFL next week. That's when NFL is going to return, and then we're going to be doing stuff a little bit more consistently. If there's anything else on the NFL front you would like to see, leave a comment down below with what you would like us to tackle, and any ideas that you may well have. We may do a mailbag podcast in the near future. So again, any questions you want for the mailbag, leave that down below. But welcome to the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. We are focusing on the Fountain of Youth, where we're hoping, Tom, or at least you are, that we're going to see a real Kentucky Derby contender. We have at least got a market in this. And spoiler alert, this market is horrifically wrong. So there is value to be had massively in this. Burnham Square is 2-1, Sovereignty at 11-4, River Thames at 3-1, Neokos at 7-1, Gate to Wires 8, 16-1 and bigger the remainder. In what world, Tom, is Burnham Square favourite for this race?
See, I'm not dead against that. I have to admit, I think he's the horse to beat. Would I bet him as favourite? No, but I do think he deserves to be up there because of that Holy Bull success.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. He beat Tappan Street, who at the time, well, still now as well, is very unexposed. I mean, the Holy Bull compared to this race was very, very moderate. In this, you've got Sovereignty, who is a genuine Derby contender, and maybe River Thames is going to be as well. River Thames is unbeaten in 2 starts for the Todd Pletcher team. I get the feeling that Burnham Square is going to be the sort of horse who, in Florida, he might win 1, he's already done that. He might win 2 sort of preps and trials for the race, and then you sort of get to the big boy races, and then suddenly he's fully outed. We see it every single year. You see it time and time again. I kind of feel like he's the next one of those.
Yeah, potentially. Look, he's been really helped by the first-time blinkers, Burnham Square. I think any horse that wins the Holy Bull going into the Fountain of Youth will be considered the horse to beat, regardless of who actually the horse is. I thought he was impressive in the Holy Bull, but yes, he meets 2 horses in here who have potentially more upside than Burnham Square. If he runs back to that Holy Bull success, he will be in the top 3. Whether he's good enough to win, I'm not sure. On the basis of what he's achieved so far, and more importantly, what he's achieved this season, I think he does deserve to be favourite, but I have no interest in betting him at 2-1. I want to take him on.
Yeah, 100% on that part. Burnham Square currently a 2-1 chance, but I'd imagine that will change. Potentially part of the pace angle as well. I know he wasn't necessarily on the pace last time around, but it is something he has done in the past.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be too far off. He might sit in third in the early part of the race. It is worth noting here that two horses are doubly declared and may not run in the Fountain of Youth. And when I say may not, I actually mean likely not to run in the Fountain of Youth. Those horses are McKellen and Solid Left, the 4 and the 5 in here. So we are expecting a smaller field than is currently billed. I think the pace probably comes from Neo Equus and maybe River Thames. They're the two horses that have led in their most recent starts. But I do think Burnham Square will be there or thereabouts in the early stages. I don't think he'll be given too much to do in a race like this.
No, he'll be a stalker, I'd say, sort of sitting third or fourth. But they should go an honest enough gallop in this. We've discussed Burnham Square. We get to sort of the unknowns now in the field, and we'll do Sovereignty, who is second in the market, who was last time around wildly impressive in the street sense at Churchill Downs. That was back in October. If you haven't seen that performance, go back and watch it. It is ridiculously impressive, and also that's him losing the maiden tag as well, because he was beaten twice before, but for whatever reason took a huge step forward.
Yeah, I actually bet him and tipped him in that race on the back of two maidens, despite the fact, as you say, he was entering a graded stakes without ever having a win next to his name. He was so impressive. Last to first, swooped around the outside, got the job done well by a wide margin. Now, Godolphin have had a horse being ruled out of the Kentucky Derby trail this week in first resort due to injury. I think Sovereignty is their number one. He is the one that I want on side. Many people may still have hope in East Avenue, but I definitely don't. Sovereignty is the one that Godolphin are going to want to be in the Derby, have a great chance of winning. And full disclaimer, I bet this horse for the Kentucky Derby anti-post after that victory at Churchill last time. I think he has everything you need to go close. He's got a great trainer, good jockey, stays the trip well and probably gets further, improving sort, and wasn't a classy 2-year-old at the front end of the season. I feel like many people look towards those 2-year-olds and think, oh, you know what, they're going to be really good 3-year-olds next year. It doesn't develop like that. You need longer term prospects, and Sovereignty definitely is one. Now, the issue with him in this spot is the fact he comes off a 125-day layoff, and he's likely to be held up in last in a race with 6 horses potentially, and they may not go overly fast up front. I'm expecting they'll go solid, but not overly fast. That means he's going to have to out sprint them all and give them track position. That being said, I think he's the classiest horse in the race.
Yeah, I agree with almost everything you said there. I think long term, I have very little doubt in my mind that he will be the best horse from this race. It's just whether he's actually able to win this one. If he wins this, you're looking at a real Derby contender. I'm not going to say winner, potentially, but he absolutely could be. But if he were able to win this, then he is ridiculously good. There is pace in the contest, as you say, to be set, likely partly by River Thames, who look was very good last time around. He's ran 2 races so far, dropped the maiden tag over 6, then he stepped up to a mile last time round, and he looked very good that day as well. This is going to be a lot tougher, but everything he does, it looks rather effortless for him. He has to be a big player in this race.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Look, he's unbeaten in 2 starts. I thought he was very good in that sprint on debut. And then last time, he looked a little bit vulnerable turning for home and then just kept finding more, which suggests that the extra 16th of a mile that he'll face here in the Fountain of Youth should be fine. Top lecture down at Gulfstream equals money. That's just a general formula that I'm sure many horse racing players and punters kind of stand by. I mean, there are no real negatives aside from the fact that Todd took a step into allowance company straight off the back of the maiden win. Maybe that was a sign that he doesn't think he's amazing. Sometimes he goes maiden straight to graded stakes. I mean, he's still trying a Group 3 on his 3rd outing or Group 2, whatever this is. So, you know, he is pitching him in at the deep end, but he took a stepping stone, which to me suggested that maybe his development wasn't as quick as Todd was hoping for. He's going to be part of the pace up front. If he wins this, then he's got a great chance in the Derby. He'll be 3 from 3 and he'll have the whole world ahead of him. This is definitely his toughest task today, though.
I don't overly mind, honestly, Todd Pletcher moving him into or not integrated company as more of a stepping stone. I say this time and time again, Todd Pletcher horses, they're slow learners. They always are. It's just the way they're trained. It's not a case that they're going to have everything asked of them at home and we're going to find out how good they are in their works in the morning. Not going to happen. Never will. So it's just something not to get used to. But the fact he's had 2 runs and he comes here at a much sort of more experienced player, I think that's going to help out. Stamina, we know, is going to be no issue. He hit the line so strongly last time over. If he's on the pace, I think he could be a huge part of this contest, even if he doesn't manage to win. And he's also put down 2 good Bayer speed figures in 2 starts. He's performed 94 and 92. Again, we don't hang our hat entirely on Bayer speed figures, but Burnham Square's not gone above that. Sovereignty's not gone above that. His debut effort was actually the highest speed figure in this race. The second highest speed figure in this contest, Tom, is Gate to Wire, who, look, I put him in my tracker after 2 starts ago when he was a big eye catcher. John Velasquez gave him a dreadful ride, missed the break, and he was never put in the contest at all. But last time around in the Swale, he looked very good. I don't think he's necessarily going to step up to this, but you come here running a big number like that, you have to have some sort of respect.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why we're treating him as a major player by giving him his individual analysis in this spot. That was his first ever run on dirt in the Swale. So he's got a lot of upside on this surface. The issue is he was treated as a grass horse at the start of his career, and he had no grass pedigree. He showed that he had some ability on that surface, but the fact that Todd put him on the grass to start with, I think that's a bit of a negative. This feels a little bit like plan B, but the way he did it in the Swale was impressive, and you have to give him some respect. He draws inside. That's the issue. He's not likely to be on the front end, despite the fact he's stepping up in trip. And then he could get just boxed in a small field against the fence at Gulfstream, not where you want to be.
No, not at all. But he did put in, like I say, a huge effort last time around, albeit they did go quite hard on the front end that day. He'll need that to happen again, and he'll likely be making his move with Sovereignty. We'll find out how good Gate to Wire actually is. But they're the 4 main contenders. Obviously, we're expecting the field to be a touch depleted, but we'll get into our picks. I mean, no shock who Tom's going to go for, because he literally has said he's backed one in here anti-post for the Derby. I will say, Tom, the price hasn't exactly gone for the Derby. You put him up at 33, he's now 25, so there's still plenty of value there. And like I say, it's a fun bet to have going into the weekend.
Yeah, it really is. I'm looking forward to this. As you say, 33-1 anti-post ticket. Look, even if you're interested in having a bet right now for the Derby, I think 25-1 each way is a very fair price on Sovereignty. He doesn't even need to win this race, really. Obviously, it would be great for the Kentucky Derby qualification points, but he's only having his first run of the year. He's only going to get better as we go into May and the rest of the summer. I think he's got loads of talent. He's got the right run style. And yeah, I'm hopeful that he goes very close in this race on Saturday. Sovereignty is obviously the pick. I think 11-4 in this race is more than reasonable, and I will be having a bet.
Sovereignty for Tom. I think Sovereignty will be the best long term. I prefer River Thames for this spot, though. I just feel like River Thames might be a bit more streetwise in a contest like this. Look, he goes on the front end. He'll do it the hard way. He's run twice in 2025 as well. I know whenever you sort of hear horses that are on the potential Derby trail that have only ever ran as a 3-year-old, you sort of get people mentioning Justify left, right, and centre, but he was a complete freak. But it's not a bad way of going about things. You learn your racing in a pretty short period of time. With Sovereignty, he might just be a bit rusty coming back on the layoff. I think if River Thames can get on the front end, he's going to be a huge factor in here. I don't think there'll be one faster than him in the early part of the race. And as we say time and time again, Gulfstream Park is a track that very much does favour front runners. I will also say this as well. I mentioned at the start of the show, I think that market that we read out was entirely wrong. Currently, Sovereignty and River Thames are 11-4 and 3-1. They're second and third in the market. I'd take those prices now. Burnham Square, I really don't see going off favourite in this. I don't know which one of ours will go off favourite, Tom, but one of them will. And I think they'll probably be first 2 in the market as well. So I think the value lies early, which is why you should watch the Turf and Touchdowns podcast early in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And also whack down a comment and like it as well, because that helps us. I don't know about the market, to be honest with you. I think all 3 have similar kind of claims, albeit they have completely different profiles. It'll be interesting to see where the punters side. Do they go with the proven horse in Burnham Square? Do they go with the horse with the unlimited upside in River Thames? Or do they go with the longer term prospect in Sovereignty? It'll be fascinating to see. What I do think is the 11-4 on Sovereignty and maybe the 3-1 on River Thames are good value bets, regardless of where they eventually end up sitting in the pecking order in the market.
Absolutely so. And YouTube are trying this new thing as well. Apparently, videos get pushed more if you share the video and send it to someone else straight from this page. So if you want to try it, like, we're not going to stop you. That'll be absolutely fine, like, whatever. But that is a look at the Fountain of Youth Stakes. We are back next week on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast doing probably something horse racing again.
Yeah, we've got the Grade 1 Beholder Mile, I think, next week at Santa Anita, a race that we will
That
be
means we got to
covering
stay up
on.
late. That's a late night
Well,
one.
mate, we're on Sky Sports next Saturday.
I'm done at 9:30, mate.
Ah, heartbreak for you.
I'll be tucked up in bed by 11. I'm fine. But yeah, we are after like. By the way, like 5 months of not being on together, we're
I
back. I
know.
think our last shift was October together.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a long while. But yeah, I think we've got two stints together in March, so it should be fun.
Yeah, a treat. It might even be three actually. I think a swap has gone our way.
Go on, that is a
Possibly.
touch as well. Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. I might have made that up actually, but it is possible. Minimum of two. Minimum of two. But we're back next week with a look at something NFL. We will decide on that and also a preview of likely the Beholder Mile over at Santa Anita. Leave a comment down below with your fancy for this week and also any question you may well have for the mailbag in the near future. Leave a like, leave a share. That's not right. Just share this video. Tell your friends. We'll be back next week on the Turf and Touchdowns podcast. Until we next get to speak to you guys, stay safe, look after other. Goodbye.